In a hotel room, a beautiful girl pulled her childhood sweetheart down onto the bed. Having heard that Yeon-soo was still a virgin, she smiled and said she wanted to give him her first time. Yeon-soo remained hesitant and shy, but the girl took the initiative to unbutton her shirt, determined to spend a passionate night with him. For Gang-hee, this decision stemmed from the fact that she would be leaving Yeon-soo. Leaving this rural town tonight, it was a snowy New Year's Eve, 10 years ago. Driven by her dreams, Gang-hee had decided to go to Seoul. Yeon-soo, though reluctant to part ways, outwardly pretended not to care. Gang-hee's father had said that if his daughter went to Seoul, she would surely meet many good men. Before leaving, Gang-hee called Yeon-soo, telling him she would be leaving on the last bus of the night and wouldn't be returning to their hometown. Upon hearing this, Yeon-soo immediately rushed out into the heavy snow, running to a motel called California, a place that her father owned and where she was born and raised. In one of the rooms, Gang-hee lay face down, softly nestled on a giant teddy bear, holding Yeon-soo closely in her heart, warm like the plush toy. Gang-hee hoped Yeon-soo could come to Seoul with her, but Yeon-soo had to stay to take care of his grandfather. Faced with the inevitable separation, Gang-hee suddenly asked Yeon-soo if he wanted to sleep with her. Yeon-soo bashfully covered his ears, but Gang-hee took another step closer. She knew Yeon-soo had a condom in his pocket, a small gift distributed by the motel earlier. With that, Gang-hee reached into Yeon-soo's pocket. She figured that after tonight, they might both meet new people, but at least she wanted Yeon-soo's first time to be with her, a memory untainted by lust or worldly thoughts. Yeon-soo remained silent. In this familiar place, they had long harbored feelings for each other. When Yeon-soo no longer resisted, Gang-hee moved closer, unbuttoned his shirt, and removed his glasses. That night became a romantic and beautiful memory. After their lovemaking, Yeon-soo gently helped Gang-hee put on her coat and personally escorted her to the bus station. The departing bus slowly pulled away, and Yeon-soo stood there motionless for a long time. Gang-hee, on the other hand, acted as if nothing had happened, trying to appear cheerful as she boarded the bus, realizing that the girl she loved was leaving. Yeon-soo clumsily chased after the bus until it disappeared into the winter snowstorm. The parting between them was as fleeting as a blink of an eye. And yet, 10 years had passed. During her 10 years in Seoul, Gang-hee hadn't achieved much success. Initially, she was a talented and ambitious interior designer, eager to make her fortune in the big city. But the reality was that the company was behind on salaries, and a lack of qualifications led to her isolation from her colleagues. Realizing her dreams might never materialize, Gang-hee became disheartened and took on jobs unbecoming of a designer. At a construction site, she was even harassed and bullied by a supervisor. But Gang-hee wasn't one to be easily intimidated. She fiercely resisted. Then, in anger, she quit. At that moment, a woman approached her and offered her a business card. The woman was a construction supervisor and also a director at a design company. Turns out, Director Hwang had been looking into Gang-hee and wanted her to work at his company, continuing to shine as an interior designer. Gang-hee decided to give it another shot. She brought her projects to the company, but the designers there, upon hearing her name, immediately displayed a negative attitude, snidely whispering that she was just a common laborer with no formal qualifications. Each mocking comment felt like a knife twisting in Gang-hee's heart. Distraught, she walked out onto the street and vaguely saw Yeon-soo walking towards her. In her mind, Yeon-soo was still the chubby, warm bear with the gentle eyes she remembered. However, Gang-hee couldn't let go of her pride. She loudly told the imagined figure that if this didn't work out, she would return to her hometown. Over the past few years, the only thing she couldn't forget was Yeon-soo. She remembered the memories in the car back home, where Yeon-soo's eyes always followed her, and she liked to lean on his shoulder, the warmest place in the world. Because of that image, Gang-hee mustered all her courage, applied a sharp smoky eye, and donned a determined look to face those who had ridiculed her. She confidently stated that Director Hwang knew she was just a construction worker, but still chose her as a designer. That alone was proof of her ability. With that, Gang-hee pushed open the door and walked into Director Hwang's office. She wanted the whole world to know what kind of designer she really was. Director Hwang admired Gang-hee's courage and fearlessness. Within her design portfolio, each talented design served as a weapon to fight the world alone and with resilience. After reviewing it, Director H. Wang continued to express his admiration and took Gang Hee to meet the department head. The department head was crude and didn't value Gang Hee's community college education. Instead, a top-notch designer with a higher degree and internship experience at a large company had already been selected. Director H. Wang tried to argue convincingly that the department head should assign the villa design project to Gang Hee. The department head agreed, but only to let her work as a short-term intern, and she would have to pass the villa design test to be officially hired. Gang Hee expressed her gratitude and decided to cherish this hard-won opportunity. Soon after, she followed the department head to the villa to start the project. The department head had no ideas, only wanting to use expensive materials to satisfy the so-called class of the wealthy. In contrast, Gang Hee was extremely serious, walking all over the villa, listening to the homeowner's ideas and preferences. From that, she sketched in her mind the space that the client liked and truly needed. The client was very satisfied after listening. Gang Hee started working through the night to complete the design, but unexpectedly, the incompetent department head didn't appreciate it and flatly rejected Gang Hee's proposal, claiming that she didn't understand the world of the rich. As a result, Gang Hee was removed from the project team. Conversely, Director H. Wang greatly admired Gang Hee's design, which caused a conflict with the department head. Upon hearing the department head disparaging the person who had shown her kindness, Gang Hee took off her name tag and publicly criticized the department head. Everyone clearly saw that the department head only knew how to copy and paste other people's work, even stealing colleagues' designs, and was a person with no integrity or boundaries. After releasing her anger, Gang Hee resigned and left. However, she currently had no idea where her future was headed. Amidst the bustling crowd on the street, Gang Hee saw an apparition of Yeon-soo, still as warm as ever, but Gang Hee coldly brushed past him, unable to face Yeon-soo when she thought about how she had given up everything, confidently headed to Seoul, and now become a failure. In reality, Yeon-soo also constantly thought about Gang Hee. Far away, 5 years had passed, and the formerly chubby Yeon-soo had successfully lost weight and become a handsome veterinarian in his hometown. Every week, Yeon-soo came to Seoul, hoping to meet the person he had always missed for the past 10 years. Gang Hee had never returned, nor had she cut off contact with her hometown and Yeon-soo, but Yeon-soo never gave up searching. Finally, one day, in a coffee shop, Yeon-soo caught sight of a familiar back. It was Gang Hee, the person he couldn't forget. After Gang Hee left the coffee shop, Yeon-soo chased after her, but in the crowded stream of people, the person he was looking for had long disappeared. As night fell, watching the sorrowful snow, Gang Hee couldn't help but remember the past. When she was young, Gang Hee once told Yeon-soo, "They say that if you eat a snowflake, you can marry your first love." Upon hearing this, Yeon-soo seriously ate the snowflakes, because Gang Hee was the biggest dream of his life. 5 years passed, and Yeon-soo still ate the falling snowflakes, still wanting to marry the person in his memory. Not long after, Yeon-soo's grandfather passed away. At the funeral, close friends were all talking about Gang Hee. Some thought that Gang Hee should return to hold the funeral service, while others didn't want her to come back so that Yeon-soo wouldn't be swayed when he saw her. At this moment, the crowd stirred. Everyone said that Gang Hee had returned. Indeed, after 10 years of carrying loneliness and fortitude, bearing the wounds of being defeated by reality, Gang Hee finally returned to her hometown. In the hallway, Yeon-soo stepped forward and tightly embraced his first love, whom he had missed for 10 years. Looking at the person in front of her, Gang Hee almost didn't recognize Yeon-soo. He had successfully lost weight, and his eyes were full of surprise at the funeral. After saying goodbye to Yeon-soo's grandfather, Gang Hee hurriedly left, not talking to Yeon-soo, nor greeting old friends. For Gang Hee, her hometown was a place she didn't want to remember. Neighbors and relatives gossiped about Gang Hee, mentioning her parents and saying she was a mixed blood. From childhood to adulthood, Gang Hee had heard such rumors countless times. Yeon-soo ran after her, stopping Gang Hee, hoping she would stay for a meal. Gang Hee spoke sharply. Yeon-soo unconsciously raised his voice. He was sad that Gang Hee didn't recognize him. After arguing, Yeon-soo immediately regretted it. fearing that she would get angry and return to Seoul right away. Fortunately, Gang Hee didn't act impulsively but returned to the funeral to see old friends. But as soon as she sat down, before she could say anything, Gang Hee heard Hyun Yul mock her, and friends sarcastically said that they were all incompetent, living off the lodging house because they were orphans. Her friends had lived in Gang Hee's lodging house since childhood and were often bullied by Hyun Yul and his bad boy friends. When she was young, Gang Hee always stood up to protect her friends. Now, 10 years have passed. Gang Hee's personality hasn't changed. She deliberately sat opposite Hyun Yul, recalling the time he was hit by a stack of papers when he was young. Hyun Yul pretended to be calm, asking about Gang Hee's job and income. Gang Hee lied, giving the business card of her old company to Hyun Yul and everyone, revealing that she was working at the #1 company in the industry. Hyun Yul scoffed, saying that people in Seoul were no better, looking flashy but living miserably. Gang Hee wasn't willing to lose, retorting that it was still better than those who get bar girls pregnant, drop out of school, and live off their parents like parasites. Hyun Yul got angry, throwing water in Gang Hee's face. She didn't give in either, dumping the whole bowl of noodles on Hyun Yul's head and then turned and left comfortably. The funeral became chaotic. Yeon-soo's mother blamed Gang Hee for being stubborn and unreasonable, but Yeon-soo defended her, saying the fault was Hyun Yul's. As night fell, snow began to fall. She looked at the motel, at her family. Gang Hee was lost in memories of the day she left her hometown for another place. She had turned back to look at the motel. She was so afraid that if she stayed, her life would become as bleak as this motel. Back then, Yeon-soo said, "It's okay, you still have me." That's right, for Gang Hee, no matter how dismal her hometown was, Yeon-soo had always been the only light in her life. Because of the unpleasant incident that occurred, Gang Hee rushed back to Seoul in the night without saying goodbye. Hearing the news that she was back, Yeon-soo was saddened. A code at sea. I'm assuming this is related to the incident and may need to be clarified. Gang Hee was living in a small, dark, cramped room where she had spent the last 10 years. The next morning, she received a call from Seok Jong, the owner of the villa. Seok Jong was very pleased with her design and wanted to meet. It was then that Gang Hee remembered that a few days earlier, when she was drunk, she had cried and laughed in front of Seok Jong, complaining that the designs the department head wanted were just cheap, gaudy work. Thinking about the nonsense she had spouted while drunk, Gang Hee just wanted to find a place to hide. Just then, Director Hwang called and asked her to come to the company. She noticed that the receptionist's attitude towards her was suddenly much better. Director Hwang also had some great news for Gang Hee. It turned out that after Gang Hee angrily resigned from her position under the incompetent department head, and the villa owner Seok Jong held a meeting to discuss the design, Seok Jong and his friends unexpectedly praised Gang Hee's work. They even wanted her to be the dedicated designer for the villa complex. The department head had no choice but to seek out Director Hwang and beg, hoping Gang Hee would return to work, even promising to make her a permanent employee. So, when facing Gang Hee, the department head's attitude completely changed, becoming timid. But Gang Hee didn't pay any attention. After attending the funeral in her hometown, she had realized that life was short and she needed to work with people she liked. Having said that, Gang Hee turned and left in a stylish manner. She had decided to sell the design to Seok Jong as a freelance designer. Seok Jong did not disappoint her, paying her a large sum of money. Gang Hee was happy in her heart, but she didn't accept the money. For her, the recognition of her design talent was much more important than money. Gang Hee's attitude impressed Seok Jong and his friends. Esther even invited Gang Hee to her wedding and decided to become friends with her. When she returned to her room, Gang Hee received a call from her best friend from her hometown. This person was planning to go to Seoul and asked if she could stay at her place overnight. Gang Hee lied again, saying she had to go on a business trip and wouldn't be home. Her best friend didn't expose her right away, but knew that Gang Hee was hiding something. In fact, her best friend had called the company on Gang Hee's business card. But the company said they didn't have an employee by that name. Yeon-soo believed that Gang Hee had her own reasons. Not long after, Gang Hee attended Esther's wedding. Watching the bride in her wedding dress, she imagined herself walking down the aisle, with Yeon-soo as the groom by her side. Snapping out of her reverie, Gang Hee started focusing on sketching a design. Seok Jong approached her, inviting her to the after-party that evening. But Gang Hee suddenly remembered that it was her birthday. A close friend, remembering the day, called to wish her a happy birthday. Gang Hee hesitantly asked about Yeon-soo, wanting to know how he was doing. Her friend told her that she should ask him herself, while also revealing that Yeon-soo had a date that night. Hearing this, Gang Hee couldn't help but feel deflated. Afterwards, she called Yeon-soo. He answered the phone, sounding cheerful. Unfortunately, a girl named Nan Woo appeared next to him. Hearing a strange woman's voice near Yeon-soo, Gang Hee quickly ended the call. Nan Woo was a new acquaintance of Yeon-soo's, a junior from his university days. Knowing that Yeon-soo had started a stray dog rescue organization, Nan Woo had begun admiring him ever since. Gang Hee's friend found out more about where Yeon-soo would be going on Christmas Eve. After ending the call with Yeon-soo, Gang Hee's father contacted her, wanting to meet at a motel to celebrate her birthday. He declared that until his daughter found a boyfriend, he would be her protector. Gang Hee, feeling down, refused to meet her father. Just then, Seok Jong appeared again, and Gang Hee asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend. Seok Jong agreed. She looped her arm through his, pretending to be intimate. The two of them went to the motel together. Unexpectedly, the person in the room wasn't her father, but Yeon-soo. Apparently, her father wanted to set them up. Seeing Gang Hee with another man, Yeon-soo appeared saddened and, at the same time, recognized Seok Jong. It turned out that years ago, when Gang Hee left her hometown, Yeon-soo had frequently come to Seoul to find her, searching from small boarding houses to convenience stores. He searched like a needle in a haystack, and finally one day, he found her at a convenience store, where she was arguing with the owner because she hadn't been paid. At that time, Seok Jong happened to be passing by and stepped in to help Gang Hee teach the unscrupulous owner a lesson. That night, Gang Hee saw Yeon-soo, but her pride wouldn't allow him to know that she was living in poverty, so she firmly asked him not to look for her anymore. Now, facing Seok Jong, and thinking about that scene, Yeon-soo stood still, his eyes full of sadness. Seizing the opportunity, XC congratulated Gang Hee and declared that he would take responsibility for her. First love, 10 years of waiting, finally returning to her hometown. The guy prepared to confess his love, but unexpectedly, his first love had brought a wealthy heir to the motel. Last night was Christmas Eve, and under Gang Hee's father's arrangement, Yeon-soo had come to the motel, setting up a candlelit dinner with high hopes, preparing a gift for Gang Hee. For this reunion after 10 years, Yeon-soo had been preparing for 10 years. 10 years ago, when he went to Seoul to find Gang Hee, Yeon-soo noticed that the men around her were all handsome and stylish. Fearing that his chubby figure would embarrass Gang Hee, Yeon-soo decided to lose weight, waiting until he became handsome before seeing Gang Hee again. Since then, he cut out instant noodles and junk food and persistently exercised intensely every day. Heaven doesn't disappoint those who persevere. Thanks to his strong belief in love, Yeon-soo finally succeeded in losing weight, transforming himself into a guy who was second to none in Seoul. Now, Yeon-soo thought that with this appearance, he would definitely keep Gang Hee. But when she saw Gang Hee walk in arm with another man, all expectations vanished. That man was Seok Jong, who had even declared in front of Yeon-soo that he would take responsibility for Gang Hee. Yeon-soo, misunderstanding their relationship, watched Gang Hee's expression with disappointed eyes. Gang Hee quickly pulled Seok Jong away, but Seok Jong seemed genuinely interested in Gang Hee. He handed her his business card, introducing himself as the heir to a restaurant, hoping to invite Gang Hee to work as a designer. Gang Hee refused. On that cold, snowy night, Gang Hee returned to the inn a second time. Yeon-soo still hadn't left. Gang Hee, just as before, unreservedly threw herself into Yeon-soo's arms. Yeon-soo made Gang Hee hot tea, saying that he was ready to be with her again. Gang Hee awkwardly avoided his gaze. Seeing the grapefruit juice on the table, the gift she had given Yeon-soo 10 years ago when she left their hometown, Gang Hee was surprised that Yeon-soo had kept it all those years. About the past, Gang Hee didn't bring it up, only asking if Yeon-soo had prepared a Christmas tree. Hearing this, Yeon-soo took out a necklace and gently said, "My whole life, I've only ever loved Gang Hee." Gang Hee was moved again. Standing in front of the mirror, she put on the necklace, her face unconsciously blushing. Yeon-soo approached Gang Hee, saying that for the past 10 years, he had thought of her every day, and asked if she had ever thought of him. Why? Yeon-soo took Gang Hee's hand, his eyes filled with affection. He was about to kiss her, but just then, the phone rang unexpectedly. It was Yeon-soo's mother calling. While he was on the phone, Gang Hee's eyes scanned the inn. Painful memories slowly resurfaced. She remembered the mocking laughter, the contemptuous looks of everyone because she was born and raised in a small inn. Thinking about it, Gang Hee's eyes turned cold. She took off the necklace, returned it to Yeon-soo, and said that she hated the inn, hated her hometown, and didn't want to be entangled in this mess again because of Yeon-soo. Finally, Gang Hee spoke harsh words, ending their relationship. But in reality, it wasn't that Gang Hee didn't care about Yeon-soo. It was just that, in the past and present, she couldn't take responsibility for her own life. She didn't want Yeon-soo to waste any more time on her. She left with a broken heart. Christmas passed, and a new year arrived. Everyone hopefully counted down to the new year. Only Gang Hee was sad, huddled in a small, cramped room. On the first day of the new year, Gang Hee stubbornly gnawed on a dry crust of bread. Even though her life was without light, she was determined to keep going strong. Fortunately, Director Hwang offered her an opportunity for change. Previously, at Seok Jong's friend's wedding, Director Hwang told Gang Hee that he had quit his job, was planning to start his own company, and wanted Gang Hee to come and help him. Gang Hee agreed to go to Director Hwang's company, but she didn't expect that he planned to do design work related to inns. Hearing about inns, Gang Hee immediately stood up, left, and said that she could do all kinds of design except design related to inns. Even so, Gang Hee didn't give up. She actively contacted Seok Jong, the man she had previously rejected, to find a job opportunity. Unexpectedly, Seok Jong also had a similar plan, wanting to renovate and design inns. This made Gang Hee extremely uncomfortable because she had lived in an inn since she was a child, enduring the scornful and mocking looks from everyone in her hometown. They believed that the people who snuck in and out of the inn, whether male or female, were dirty and despicable, people who couldn't face the light. Gang Hee resolutely refused to cooperate. By evening, Seok Jong had transferred 50 million won to Gang Hee. As Gang Hee stepped outside, she saw Seok Jong's friend, Esther, waiting for her. Esther didn't try to pressure Gang Hee into taking the job. Instead, she listened to Gang Hee's goals and dreams. Gang Hee longed to have her own company and a private space near the office where she could realize all of her dreams. Hearing this, Esther told Gang Hee that to achieve those dreams, she needed to choose the right partners. She pointed out that Director Hwang had a good reputation in the industry, possessed sufficient investment capital, and that Esther herself was someone Gang Hee could trust. Esther hoped Gang Hee would join the company, not for any other reason, but for the sake of her own dreams. Thanks to Esther's words, Gang Hee changed her mind and joined the newly established design firm. She also held a small percentage of shares in the company. After joining, Gang Hee quickly got to work, discussing furniture colors, room lighting, and the path to realizing their dreams with the team members. Finally, it was a new beginning. One day, Seok Jong and Gang Hee went to a motel for a site survey. After inspecting the property, the two encountered a couple kissing in the elevator. In a twist of fate, the man was none other than Hyun-yeol, an old classmate who had ridiculed Gang Hee back in her hometown. As Gang Hee predicted, upon returning, Hyun-yeol immediately started spreading rumors, fabricating a story that Gang Hee had been in a motel with a man during the day. He even sarcastically remarked that it was no wonder Gang Hee was the daughter of a motel owner. Finally, Hyun-yeol warned Yeon-soo to see Gang Hee for who she really was. Yeon-soo immediately became angry, rebuking Hyun-yeol, saying that if he dared to say another bad word about Gang Hee, he wouldn't be shown any respect. However, even after scolding Hyun-yeol, Yeon-soo was still sad and worried that Gang Hee wasn't doing well, fearing that she would fall into the arms of another man. On Gang Hee's side, Director Hwang assigned her to manage a project. Gang Hee was delighted and promised to do her best, but she didn't expect that the project location would be in her hometown. Immediately, Gang Hee felt like she wanted to die. For the next few days, she constantly tried to avoid it, not wanting to return home. Today, Gang Hee made up an excuse about having an appointment to avoid going. Hearing that Gang Hee had an appointment, Seok Jong became worried and secretly followed her. Unexpectedly, Gang Hee's appointment was with a close friend from her hometown. Seok Jong quickly stepped in to help, carrying her friend's suitcase and even buying fruit to show courtesy. During their conversation, Gang Hee shared about her current situation, that she was actually getting better day by day. But her friend was more curious about the relationship between Gang Hee and Seok Jong, even asserting that Seok Jong liked Gang Hee. Back and forth, the conversation shifted to Yeon Soo. Her friend revealed that Yeon Soo had met someone suitable, a younger student from school. They seemed to be planning to get married. Hearing this, Gang Hee tried to hide her sadness. On Yeon Soo's side, at the request of the younger student, he started teaching her how to drive. During the driving lesson, she almost hit an oncoming car, trembling with fear. Being kind-hearted, Yeon Soo helped her out of the car and comforted her. But unexpectedly, the person who stepped out of the oncoming car was Gang Hee and Seok Jong. Seeing Yeon Soo hugging someone else, Gang Hee smiled coldly, then turned around and quickly walked away, trying to hide the pain in her heart. Initially, Gang Hee was adamant about not returning to her hometown to design the family's inn. However, ever since she coldly broke things off with Yeon Soo, she kept having nightmares where he married a younger woman. This younger woman was only interested in Yeon Soo's wealth. Gang Hee realized that perhaps she couldn't forget him. Just then, Director H. Wong was in a traffic accident and injured his leg, making him unable to travel for work. Left with no other choice, Gang Hee had to take on the design project and planned to return to her hometown with Seok Jong, hoping to avoid being recognized. Before leaving, Gang Hee carefully disguised herself. She wore a coat, sunglasses, and wrapped a scarf around her head. She also strictly told Seok Jong not to call her by name. To Gang Hee's surprise, the project she was responsible for designing turned out to be her own family's inn. Upon arrival, Gang Hee quickly covered herself up, pretending not to know anyone. Her father immediately recognized his daughter, but he didn't say anything. Gang Hee proposed building a rooftop swimming pool and adding a stylish bar. Hearing this, her father was deeply moved. These designs were childhood dreams they had shared, and he was surprised Gang Hee still remembered them. Therefore, her father shook her hand, deciding to entrust the design project to his daughter. The next day, in her role as the project manager, Gang Hee and Seok Jong went to the construction site. The workers suggested they stay at the California Inn, as it had the best food and lodging in the area. However, Gang Hee shook her head, planning to stay at a hotel down the road. While driving to the hotel, they almost collided with another car. Looking closely, Gang Hee discovered that the person in the opposite car was none other than Yeon Soo. He helped the younger woman out of the car. Seeing this, Gang Hee tried to appear tough and turned to walk away. Yeon Soo quickly let go of the younger woman and ran after Gang Hee. Confronted by Yeon Soo's questions, Gang Hee bluntly stated that she would be here until Christmas next year and told him not to reveal her return to anyone. The truth was, Yeon Soo was not only Gang Hee's first love, but also the person who had rescued her when she was little. Gang Hee and her friends used to be bullied by classmates. One day, Yeon Soo transferred to her school. From afar, Gang Hee saw Yeon Soo as a chubby, healthy boy, and thought he could help her stand up to the bullies. She proactively asked to be Yeon Soo's desk mate. From then on, their fate was intertwined. When they grew up, Yeon Soo confessed his feelings to Gang Hee, saying that he had liked her from the first day they sat together. Gang Hee pinched Yeon Soo's cheek, calling him Baby Bear. In her eyes, Yeon Soo had always been a safe haven for her to lean on. Gang Hee told Seok Jong that without Yeon Soo, she couldn't imagine what her youth and difficult years would have been like. It would surely have been a mess. In the following days, Gang Hee and Seok Jong constantly changed hotels, but the experiences were always terrible. Finally, Seok Jong suggested they stay at the California Inn, but Gang Hee stubbornly refused. She'd rather drink rusty water than go there. After work, Gang Hee secretly went to Yeon Soo's veterinary clinic just to see his junior colleague who worked with him. From his junior, Gang Hee learned that Yeon Soo didn't like chamomile tea, but he still regularly bought it and kept it at the clinic just because a friend liked it. Gang Hee understood that the friend Yeon-soo mentioned was her. Furthermore, his junior incessantly praised Yeon-soo, saying that he was a trustworthy and reliable man who could be counted on. Looking at the picture of Yeon-soo and his junior taken in front of the clinic, Gang Hee remained silent, her eyes filled with disappointment. Even though Gang Hee had reminded Yeon-soo not to reveal her return, the countryside was small, and even the smallest matters quickly spread. The first night Gang Hee was back home, the news was all over the place. People were buzzing with gossip, the main topic being the relationship between Gang Hee and Seok Jong, the wealthy man who accompanied her. Yeon-soo overheard workers at the California motel gossiping that the new construction supervisor was very strict, but on the other hand, the man with her was very generous. Hearing this, Yeon-soo immediately knew that the strict one was Gang Hee, and the generous one was Seok Jong. Some friends even speculated that Seok Jong was addicted to gambling. Worried, Yeon-soo decided to investigate and see for himself what kind of person Seok Jong was. In the afternoon, Yeon-soo followed Seok Jong in his car and saw him pull over to the side of the road to rescue a small dog that was trapped. Yeon-soo approached to help and promised to treat the dog. In the meantime, he asked Seok Jong if Gang Hee wore sunglasses because of an eye injury. Seok Jong laughed and said that Gang Hee wasn't the type of person who was easily bullied. Based on Seok Jong's reaction, Yeon-soo implicitly understood that he wasn't like the rumors suggested. After Yeon-soo returned to the clinic, his junior inadvertently showed him a video of Gang Hee visiting the clinic. In it, she was petting a small cat. Realizing Gang Hee had been there, Yeon-soo rushed to the construction site to find her, but she wasn't there. He inquired with Gang Hee's close friend, but to protect her, this friend didn't reveal anything. In reality, Gang Hee was hiding in a soup restaurant, drinking alcohol and thinking about his junior. To be fair, his junior was beautiful, had a good personality, and there was nothing to hate. Thinking this, Gang Hee drank a few more shots. At the same time, Yeon-soo was rewatching the video of the cat and received news that Gang Hee was at the soup restaurant. Without saying a word, he immediately went there. Gang Hee's face was flushed from drinking, and she was so drunk that she collapsed onto Yeon-soo's lap, as if she were sleeping on a soft teddy bear. She kept rubbing her head against his legs, forcing Yeon-soo to restrain himself. That night, he carried Gang Hee back to the California motel and covered her with a blanket, but Gang Hee held onto his shirt tightly, listlessly begging him not to leave. Yeon-soo didn't leave, staying by her side all night, gazing at the girl he had secretly loved for so many years. Yeon-soo couldn't help but recall their memory from 10 years ago at this motel. Gang Hee groggily opened her eyes and pinched Yeon-soo's cheek, blaming him for not keeping his promise. "Why did you lose weight? Why did you go looking for another girl?" Yeon-soo was also heartbroken, blaming her. "Why did you go looking for another man?" At that moment, a number of people arrived at the motel, angrily demanding that Gang Hee be handed over, but it turned out she wasn't there. Seok Jong, worried sick, had already reported her to the police and received news that a man had brought her back to the motel. Fearing something had happened to her, Seok Jong loudly demanded to know where she was. Seeing this, Yeon-soo explained, "This is Gang Hee's home. That older man is her father." The next morning, Gang Hee woke up to see Seok Jong, who had been sitting outside her door all night, looking exhausted. The two went down for breakfast together. After everyone else left, Gang Hee sat and talked with her two old friends, learning how much the motel had changed over the years. Seok Jong gradually realized that the reason Gang Hee changed her mind and came back was to see Yeon-soo's girlfriend. But he also reminded Gang Hee, "Don't cross the line." After work, the two of them went to the hospital to visit the injured dog from the other day. But Gang Hee's eyes were only on Yeon-soo and his younger colleague. From the colleague, she learned that the little cat at the hospital was named Cam Hai, a name Yeon-soo had given it, which was almost identical to Gang Hee's name. Cam Hai quietly left. On the way home, Seok Jong said that Yeon-soo and his colleague seemed perfect for each other, leaving Gang Hee feeling resentful. Gang Hee went into an ice cream shop alone, only to see Yeon-soo and his colleague playfully teasing each other. When it was her turn to order ice cream, without thinking, she secretly slipped out, remembering her past memories with Yeon-soo, the times they had joked around together. Now, the distance between the past and the present felt immense. Gang Hee sat alone, crying and cursing Yeon-soo for being an idiot. Just then, Yeon-soo appeared. Gang Hee looked up and said that Yeon-soo had really changed. Before Yeon-soo could explain, Gang Hee forbade him from following her. Yeon-soo ignored her and continued to follow Gang Hee until she turned around. Yeon-soo quickly hid. Not seeing Yeon-soo, Gang Hee felt a little disappointed and began to regret saying those cool-sounding farewell words back then. At that moment, Seok-jong arrived and saw Gang Hee crying. Seok-jong took out her limited edition sunglasses and put them on Gang Hee. Thanks to Seok-jong, Gang Hee finally felt comforted. But Yeon-soo, lurking in the shadows, felt a twinge of sadness. Back at the inn, Yeon-soo left the ice cream he'd bought that morning at the front desk, asking them to deliver it to Gang Hee's room. Yeon-soo talked to the cat, saying to himself, "Before, only I could cheer Gang Hee up. But now, it seems different." As he left the lobby, his friends brought a pile of shirts with Gang Hee's name written on them and told Yeon-soo to put one on. It turned out that his friends were planning a welcome-back party for Gang Hee tonight. A little later, Son Th letter 1do letter 1e3ng had set up a red carpet, and the friends cheerfully welcomed Gang Hee home. Seeing his old friends from his hometown, brilliant memories seemed to flash before Gang Hee's eyes. Back then, Gang Hee protected Yeon-soo like family, without hesitation, and Yeon-soo was the same. Whenever Gang Hee gave him a task, he always tried his best to complete it. One time, while playing, the red bean bun in Yeon-soo's hand fell to the ground. Gang Hee and their friends shared their buns with him. From then on, Yeon-soo became the third member of Gang Hee's gang. Now, Gang Hee asked about each of her grown-up friends, but the person she was most interested in was still Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo seemed very content with his current life, believing that inheriting his grandfather's veterinary clinic in their hometown was meaningful. The friends also asked Gang Hee about her life in Seoul. Gang Hee hesitated, not answering, and quickly left. Her close friend reminded Yeon-soo that Seok-jong from Seoul was by Gang Hee's side. If Yeon-soo wavered, she feared he would suffer because of Gang Hee again. Gang Hee told Seok-jong about her past, from deciding to leave her hometown to trying her best in Seoul. She once thought she had lived her life to the fullest for her dreams, but today, seeing that her friends were all doing well, she realized that she was the only failure. Seok-jong, hearing this, exclaimed, "Gang Hee, you've lived a great life." Gang Hee also declared that she would repaint the inn beautifully to prove that she had made the right choice and was working hard to live well. The next day, her junior colleague received a phone call, asking her to come and treat a calf. The junior colleague had never treated large animals before and panicked. Fortunately, Gang Hee was there, and seeing her junior colleague flustered, she proactively drove her there. The farm owner was anxious because she lacked experience, but luckily, Yeon-soo arrived later and coordinated smoothly with the junior colleague. On the way back, Gang Hee replayed the happy moments of Yeon-soo and his younger colleague, which only deepened her sadness. When she saw the sign for the beef festival, Gang Hee felt anxious. If the festival started, the country roads would be temporarily blocked, preventing the concrete mixer trucks from reaching the construction site and affecting the project's progress. Gang Hee just wanted to leave quickly and go back, and Yeon-soo unintentionally overheard her words. Yeon-soo silently blamed Gang Hee. "Do you like Seoul that much?" From their mutual friend, Yeon-soo and his friends learned about Gang Hee's worries and decided to help. Yeon-soo ran around, persuading the villagers to change the festival's location and promising free medical care for their cows for a month. After persuading the villagers, Yeon-soo visited each farm to talk. Gang Hee was unaware that Yeon-soo was trying to help her. She also went to a farm to convince the owner to change the festival's location. The farm owner was an old acquaintance who used to look down on Gang Hee and her mother. They believed that if it weren't for Gang Hee, her father wouldn't have been stuck in that miserable motel. To retaliate for the insults from years ago, Gang Hee had once locked the uncle in a storage room, and to this day, he still remembered the grudge, demanding that Gang Hee kneel and apologize. Gang Hee forced a smile and repeatedly pleaded, but the uncle refused to forgive her, insisting she kneel. Yeon-soo stepped in to defend Gang Hee, but Gang Hee rejected his help. Gang Hee didn't want Yeon-soo to help her because he knew all of her painful tears. Just thinking about Yeon-soo brought back all the terrible memories. Meanwhile, Seok-jong also helped Gang-hee by persuading the Senior Citizens Association by sponsoring a celebratory feast. After the party concluded, Yeon-soo continued to coordinate with his group of friends to meet with the traffic police and publicly announce the change of location for the festival. The festival was a success, convincing everyone. Gang-hee thanked Seok-jong and agreed to attend the beef festival with him. At the festival, Yeon-soo's younger colleague, arm in arm with Yeon-soo's mother, appeared before Gang-hee. Yeon-soo's mother praised the younger colleague, and the villagers said they were a match made in heaven. Gang-hee forced a smile and congratulated Yeon-soo and his mother. Yeon-soo's mother mistakenly assumed Seok-jong was Gang-hee's boyfriend and congratulated her on finding a good man. Seok-jong started to explain, but Gang-hee pulled him away and proposed that Seok-jong pretend to be her boyfriend until the construction was completed. Seok-jong agreed, but with a different condition. As the festival neared its end, Yeon-soo waited nearby, wanting to explain his relationship with the younger colleague to Gang-hee, but Gang-hee cut him off and talked about her impressions of the hometown. At this moment, the younger colleague, drunk, came over and innocently chatted with Gang-hee. Gang-hee used it as an excuse to leave, constantly thinking about the younger colleague's innocence and feeling sad. Gang-hee felt that the younger colleague was probably better suited for Yeon-soo, while she was just an ambitious person with burdens. Earlier, Yeon-soo had talked to the younger colleague, hoping she wouldn't work at the same hospital anymore because rumors about the two of them were spreading in the village. But the younger colleague didn't care, even suggesting that if the rumors spread out of control, they might actually start dating. As the festival drew to a close, Yeon-soo's mother discovered her husband being intimate with another woman. She immediately flipped the table and started berating him right there and then. Her husband didn't back down either, yelling back at his wife. Amidst the chaos, a crowd of onlookers gathered. Gang-hee's father stepped forward to mediate. This scene was all too familiar to Gang-hee from her childhood, as countless similar noisy incidents had unfolded at her family's inn. Carrying a heavy heart, Gang-hee returned to the inn. Just then, the receptionist handed her a cup of ice cream, saying someone had left it specifically for her. Gang-hee knew only Yeon-soo would do something like that. With this thought in mind, Gang-hee went to Yeon-soo's room in the inn. The room was filled with photos of the two of them from their childhood, and there was also the teddy bear that Gang-hee's father had given her 10 years ago before leaving Seoul. Gang-hee had once told Yeon-soo to sell the teddy bear and forget about her. Realizing that Yeon-soo probably hadn't changed her heart, Gang-hee rushed to Yeon-soo's side, her eyes filled with expectation, and asked, "Why did you help me? Do you still like me?" Unexpectedly, Yeon-soo, having accumulated enough disappointment, simply said, "This is the last thing I can do for Gang-hee. Now, I've decided to forget about you. Please give me time." Faced with Yeon-soo's sudden decision, Gang-hee was stunned, clearly unprepared. Returning to the hotel, Gang-hee threw away the ice cream Yeon-soo had bought for her. If Yeon-soo wanted to end things, then so be it. That evening, at the invitation of her close friend, Gang-hee attended a class reunion at a restaurant. The meal was supposedly paid for by Seok-jong, but throughout the party, the classmates constantly mocked her. Gang-hee's close friend said she was poor and no one wanted to marry her, despite having dated a lot. Gang-hee just felt nauseous and left with a displeased expression. Returning to the hotel, Gang-hee again overheard Yeon-soo's mother and the villagers gossiping about scandalous marital and divorce issues. This was Gang-hee's view of her hometown, a place full of the narrow-minded prejudices of frogs in a well and shady relationships between men and women. Lost in thought, Yeon-soo's underling drunkenly emerged from the inn, cheerfully greeting Gang-hee. Gang-hee ignored him and walked straight inside. Yeon-soo knew Gang-hee was still angry with her. On the way to take her underling home, the underling unexpectedly advised Yeon-soo, "Go find Gang-hee. I've realized that she's the person you've always been waiting for." Meanwhile, Gang-hee was still upset, frantically cleaning the bathroom while constantly cursing at Yeon-soo. "Yeon-soo has liked me for over 20 years. Couldn't she have waited a little longer? I barely managed to get on my feet in Seoul. If Yeon-soo agreed to be with me, of course I wouldn't hesitate to start with her." At that moment, Yeon-soo returned to the hotel and happened to overhear Gang Hee talking to herself in the next room. So she secretly hid outside the door to eavesdrop, but was interrupted by the receptionist. In the middle of the night, Gang Hee was still talking. Yeon-soo assumed Gang Hee was calling her boyfriend to confide in him, so she felt annoyed, leading to a strange dream. Yeon-soo dreamed that Gang Hee was hugging Seok-jong and introducing Seok-jong as her husband, and saying that Yeon-soo belonged to the underling to take Gang Hee away. Seok-jong even fought with Yeon-soo. Although the dream was absurd, it was enough to prove that Yeon-soo couldn't forget Gang Hee. In the morning, Gang Hee returned the bank card to Seok-jong and told him not to spend money on her anymore. Seok-jong refused. It turned out that yesterday, Gang Hee had asked Seok-jong to pretend to be her boyfriend, but Seok-jong had added a condition requiring him to become Gang Hee's real boyfriend after the project was completed. Now, Seok-jong wanted to date as a boyfriend, but Gang Hee ignored him and walked away. In the hotel room, Gang Hee found the note that Yeon-soo's grandfather had written for her. Although he was Yeon-soo's grandfather to Gang Hee, he was also like family. Each piece of paper was filled with his love and blessings for her. After reading it, Gang Hee put the note away in a box, then went to the veterinary clinic to see Yeon-soo and the younger veterinarian. She wanted to know about her background, whether she had grown up in a loving family. Yeon-soo confirmed this and agreed to dedicate time in the evening to visit his late grandfather's grave on the mountain with Gang Hee. At his grave, Yeon-soo would express his feelings. Over the years, he had been able to endure all the pain and frustration, but especially with Gang Hee, he couldn't hold back his emotions. After paying their respects at the grave, Gang Hee took out a box containing a pair of rings and gave it to Yeon-soo. It belonged to his grandfather. 10 years ago, his grandfather had given Gang Hee this ring box, hoping she would give it to Yeon-soo's future girlfriend, someone he hoped would be kind and have grown up in a loving family. Now, Gang Hee confessed that the real reason she had come wasn't for the construction project, but to see if Yeon-soo's girlfriend met his grandfather's criteria. Looking at the younger veterinarian, Gang Hee thought that perhaps someone as gentle and lovely as her was more suitable for Yeon-soo than she was. After saying that, Gang Hee's eyes filled with sorrow. She turned and left, thinking that her relationship with Yeon-soo had come to an end. Gang Hee's words pained Yeon-soo, reminding him of the past, 10 years ago, and the present, 10 years later. Each time he remembered Gang Hee's joys and sorrows, Yeon-soo quickly got up, ran after her, wrapped his arms around her from behind, and apologized for only now understanding the pain and internal conflict within Gang Hee. Because of that embrace, the two of them sat by the riverside. Gang Hee recounted her grandfather's words, confirming that this was indeed the reason she pushed Yeon-soo away. Hearing this, Yeon-soo immediately threw the rings into the river. Gang Hee panicked and jumped into the water to find the rings, wanting to fulfill his grandfather's wish by giving them to the younger veterinarian. Yeon-soo also quickly went into the river, urging her to stop, admitting he wasn't interested in the younger veterinarian. Gang Hee lost her balance and Yeon-soo caught her in his arms. In that moment, their eyes met and their feelings surged. Right after that, like a child, Gang Hee pushed Yeon-soo into the river, getting them both soaking wet. On the way back, Yeon-soo took off his jacket and draped it over Gang Hee, and began explaining that the rumors about the younger veterinarian were just fabrications by the villagers. When they got back to the inn, Gang Hee remembered Yeon-soo saying he wanted to clarify the rumors, and she unconsciously smiled. In the room, Yeon-soo looked at a childhood photo of him and Gang Hee, imitating the innocent smile in the picture. The next day, Gang Hee saw director Hwang arrive in the village, wearing beautiful high heels, saying she wanted to meet a certain man. What surprised Gang Hee was that director Hwang wanted to meet her father. In director Hwang's eyes, Gang Hee's father was a gentle gentleman. From director Hwang's words, Gang Hee learned that the teddy bear gift her father had given her was actually bought with director Hwang's help. After hearing that, Gang Hee immediately returned to the hotel, intending to throw the bear away. Yeon-soo suddenly appeared in front of her. Gang Hee recalled the things that made her hate her father when she was younger. She once had a sibling who was never born, but because her father was busy taking care of another woman, her mother had a miscarriage. From that day on, Gang Hee began calling her father by his first name, feeling that he was just a seemingly polite person on the outside, but a philanderer on the inside. Gang Hee also told Yeon-soo that the woman with her father on the night she lost her sibling was Yeon-soo's mother. Therefore, whether it was her father or Yeon-soo's mother, Gang Hee couldn't forgive either of them. Unless Yeon-soo could abandon his mother, only then could the two of them be together. Hearing this, Yeon-soo remained silent. Gang Hee decided to return to Seoul, leaving behind the echoing sound of her footsteps in the hallway. Yeon-soo hesitated, not turning the doorknob. In the end, Gang Hee still left, leaving this place full of memories and loathing. In Seoul, Gang Hee felt a familiar sense of freedom, but for some reason, she couldn't stop mentioning Yeon-soo's name, no matter what she did. Yeon-soo was the same. Looking at photos of him and Gang Hee as children, his face remained melancholic. Seok-jong still hadn't left the hotel, deliberately taking phone calls with Gang Hee in front of Yeon-soo. She pretended to have lively, cheerful conversations. Not to be outdone, Yeon-soo also called a friend, also faking laughter and cheerfulness when no one was looking. Yeon-soo secretly browsed Seok-jong's social media, zooming in on photos featuring Gang Hee. He remained deeply concerned about the relationship between Gang Hee and Seok-jong. Back in Seoul, Gang Hee was attending meetings, but her mind was elsewhere. Esther came to see her. Through a conversation with Esther, Gang Hee realized that only friendship lasted forever, like the friendship between Seok-jong and Esther. Hearing this, Gang Hee decided to return home to see Yeon-soo instead of trying to forget him. She decided to try to be friends with Yeon-soo. Gang Hee took out a tub of ice cream, saying she wanted to share it with Yeon-soo as friends. Moments later, Yeon-soo entered the room. Gang Hee used his spoon to eat the ice cream. Gang Hee playfully scolded Yeon-soo for eating the rest of it. Unexpectedly, Yeon-soo leaned in and gave her a kiss. Yeon-soo didn't want to just be friends, and the kiss became more passionate. This time, Gang Hee didn't resist as her feelings surged. Gang Hee's father stood outside, holding water, calling out to his daughter. Flustered, Gang Hee quickly told Yeon-soo to hide and frantically tidied up the bed. While she was talking to her father, Seok-jong arrived and tried to enter Gang Hee's room. Gang Hee quickly pulled Seok-jong outside. However, during their conversation, Gang Hee's mind was filled with the intimate moments between her and Yeon-soo. She worried if Yeon-soo was angry that she had made him hide. That evening, when she returned to her room, Yeon-soo had left. Gang Hee was disappointed, unsure of the status of her relationship with Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo also couldn't stop thinking about Gang Hee, reminiscing about their kiss. A little later, Gang Hee called and asked to meet Yeon-soo on the hotel rooftop. Yeon-soo asked Gang Hee, "Can you really be friends with me?" Yeon-soo believed that the kiss and the embrace proved Gang Hee couldn't forget him, but every time he tried, Gang Hee pushed him away. With a determined look in her eyes, Gang Hee admitted she had never forgotten him, but that everything was in the past. "Then let's stop here," Gang Hee said. Yeon-soo was heartbroken, and in a moment of emotion, agreed to break up. That night, both of them unintentionally recalled their farewell at the train station 10 years ago. Back then, Gang Hee gave Yeon-soo a can of juice with a picture of a small house. Yeon-soo ran after the train, trying to keep Gang Hee from leaving, but now that they had said their final goodbyes, every time Yeon-soo saw Gang Hee, he deliberately turned his back and walked away. Gang Hee proactively went to Yeon-soo's veterinary clinic, saying she wanted to drink chrysanthemum tea. Yeon-soo brewed the tea and gave it to Gang Hee, but coldly told her to drink it and leave. Gang Hee noticed that Yeon-soo had gone outside without a scarf, so she hung a scarf outside his clinic door. However, when she returned, Gang Hee discovered that Yeon-soo had returned the scarf. Angered, Gang Hee knocked on Yeon-soo's clinic door, demanding that he accept the scarf, or they couldn't even be friends. Yeon-soo angrily told Gang Hee to give the scarf to her boyfriend. Gang Hee realized that Yeon-soo was retaliating for the cruel things she had said in the past. Yeon-soo, like a child bearing a grudge, turned and walked away. The next day, Yeon-soo's underlings came to the construction site and asked Gang Hee to build a cage for the fire salamander at the clinic. Realizing Yeon-soo hadn't personally requested this from Gang Hee, Seok-jong stepped in to do it instead. Upon seeing Seok-jong, Yeon-soo displayed open hostility. The two competed fiercely at sawing wood, constantly criticizing each other's technique. Ultimately, Gang Hee designed the salamander cage using professional techniques, completing a visually appealing structure. Gang Hee's dream was to build her own house, including a room specifically for Yeon-soo. However, Yeon-soo remained distant, mentioning that he might one day bring his wife and children to live there. Not wanting to lose, Gang Hee linked arms with Seok-jong and lied, saying they had a date that night. Confused, Seok-jong questioned why Gang Hee's house would have a room dedicated to Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo remembered a time in their childhood when Gang Hee drew a house on the snow, saying he would build a shelter himself someday, with a room for Yeon-soo. Lost in reminiscing, Yeon-soo was drinking to drown his sorrows when he encountered Seok-jong with a girl. Yeon-soo directly asked about the girl, but Esther quickly explained that they were just close friends. After Esther left, Seok-jong and Yeon-soo continued drinking, arguing over who was better for Gang Hee. Yeon-soo had visited numerous temples and churches in Seoul, each time praying for Gang Hee's happiness. Seok-jong retorted that Gang Hee didn't like anyone knowing about her past, so Yeon-soo had no chance. When Seok-jong woke up, he was shocked to find Yeon-soo sleeping in his bed. Yeon-soo quickly explained that he hadn't done anything inappropriate with Seok-jong. Seok-jong extended his hand, saying he wanted to be friends with Gang Hee's friend. After some hesitation, Yeon-soo shook Seok-jong's hand, but in his heart, he viewed him as a rival to be watched closely. Yeon-soo and Seok-jong went to the construction site together, Yeon-soo saying he had something he wanted to discuss with Gang Hee. Confronting Gang Hee, Yeon-soo suggested that they be friends, just like Seok-jong and Esther were. Yeon-soo extended his hand for a handshake, and Seok-jong quickly pulled Gang Hee over to facilitate the handshake. A look of sadness filled Gang Hee's eyes. The same day, Yeon-soo's underling received a flower basket and 2 concert tickets with the theme, "Will You Marry Me?" She worried that Yeon-soo might, on a whim, choose her as a substitute, but the flower basket and tickets were actually sent by Yeon-soo's mother without his knowledge. Yeon-soo asked his mother about it, and she said she wanted him to marry the underling because she was about to remarry. That evening, Gang Hee met with the underling and noticed her lovingly holding the flower basket in her hands, realizing they were from Yeon-soo. Gang Hee was furious, offered her congratulations, and turned away, kicking a soda can hard. When he reached the door of his motel, his friend handed Gang Hee a bouquet of flowers that he couldn't give because the close friend he liked hadn't been around all day. Just then, Yeon-soo approached, his eyes filled with sorrow upon seeing Gang Hee holding the flowers. Gang Hee accused Yeon-soo of never buying her flowers, then changed his mind, telling him not to give flowers to his friend lest the underling be upset. With the construction work temporarily finished, Gang Hee decided to return to Seoul. Upon boarding the bus, she was surprised to see Yeon-soo sitting right next to her. Yeon-soo explained that he just had some business to take care of in Seoul, and then asked how Gang Hee was doing. Gang Hee recalled that before she joined the company, Seoul was like a hard, dry bread crust to her. When she was little, there was a man in her village who sold hard bread. Every time they saw him, Gang Hee and Yeon-soo worried that the bread would get dusty. Seoul, to Gang Hee, was like that dry bread in her memory. On the bus, Gang Hee became sleepy, and Yeon-soo pulled her jacket so she would lean on his shoulder. Gang Hee stubbornly insisted on returning the favor. Yeon-soo seized the opportunity to ask Gang Hee to show him around Seoul. Getting out of the car, they took the subway together, but Yeon-soo was even more awkward than Gang Hee. They had dinner as friends before the actual meal. Gang Hee put her hair up, and Yeon-soo couldn't take his eyes off her. After eating, Gang Hee invited Yeon-soo to see her place in Seoul. It was much cozier than her old studio apartment. Gang Hee commented that she'd worked really hard to get the place. Yeon-soo gently stroked her hair, hugged Gang Hee, and said, "You've been through a lot." In that moment, Gang Hee couldn't help but lean in to kiss Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo, though longing for it, tried to restrain himself, ultimately pushing Gang Hee away under the guise of friendship. Gang Hee also caught herself and said she just wanted to have a drink with Yeon-soo like friends. When they went to the convenience store to buy alcohol, Gang Hee noticed a pack of condoms on the shelf. Looking flustered, she walked over to them. Just then, Yeon-soo called to ask if Gang Hee had bought everything they needed for the night. Gang Hee understood his implication, grabbed a box of condoms, and joked that they were truly of one mind. Back at the apartment, Gang Hee realized Yeon-soo had meant a replacement light bulb, and when she saw she hadn't bought one, Yeon-soo headed out to the convenience store. After buying the bulb, Yeon-soo's gaze fell on the condoms beside it. Back home, Yeon-soo changed the light bulb. Gang Hee couldn't help but stare, captivated by Yeon-soo's attractive neck. After replacing the bulb, Yeon-soo sat down on the sofa near Gang Hee. Gang Hee was taken aback, remembering the farewell she'd given Yeon-soo 10 years ago, saying similar things herself. She realized Yeon-soo was just teasing her, and playfully pinched his cheek like she used to. Yeon-soo went to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and kept reminding himself that he and Gang Hee were just friends. But while drinking together, Yeon-soo suddenly pulled Gang Hee close, saying, "If Gang Hee liked me when I was chubby, I'll gain the weight back." Unable to restrain himself, Yeon-soo leaned closer to Gang Hee. Gang Hee quickly pulled away, using the excuse of going to the bathroom. When the scent of her perfume wafted out, Gang Hee saw that Yeon-soo had fallen asleep, drunk. The next morning, Gang Hee woke Yeon-soo up. Yeon-soo lamented, "How could I have fallen asleep so easily last night?" Outside, Yeon-soo ran into Seok-jong. Seok-jong was a little jealous, not understanding why Yeon-soo was at Gang Hee's place, even guessing that they had slept together. Yeon-soo deliberately teased Gang Hee, quickly offering an explanation, but Seok-jong remained bothered. Seok-jong confided in Esther. Upon hearing that Seok-jong was jealous of Yeon-soo, Esther couldn't stop praising him. "He's tall, handsome, and so manly." Seok-jong insisted she would definitely win Gang Hee's heart. Because Yeon-soo had some business in Seoul, after breakfast, Gang Hee got on the bus alone. Unexpectedly, just as she boarded, Yeon-soo knocked on the window, pulling her off. He wanted to spend another day in Seoul with Gang Hee. He really wanted to know if things would have been different if he had followed Gang Hee to Seoul back then. Back in their hometown, Yeon-soo's mother received news that her son wasn't planning on attending today's performance. Yeon-soo going to Seoul was supposed to be fulfilling his mother's wish. His younger colleagues also received word that Yeon-soo had declined watching the performance with them, learning from the younger colleague that her son had gone to Seoul. Yeon-soo's mother rushed to the construction site and learned that Gang Hee was also in Seoul. She worried that the thing she feared most had finally happened. In Seoul, Gang Hee showed Yeon-soo where she lived during the hard times, telling him about that difficult period. The two of them lay on the small bed, and Gang Hee nearly fell to the floor, but Yeon-soo caught her in time. On the narrow bed, the two of them embraced like lovers. Just then, the landlord knocked on the door, and they quickly hid their desire to cross the line. After their visit, the two went to the mall to play dart games and take fun pictures. Yeon-soo even gifted Gang Hee a cute teddy bear. Gang Hee received a call from her best friend, but the person on the other end was Yeon-soo's mother. She scolded Gang Hee, demanding that she stay away from her son and insisting she hand the phone to Yeon-soo. Gang Hee was flustered, but Yeon-soo nonchalantly hung up. Yeon-soo's mother sought out Gang Hee's father to berate him, asking why her son was attracted to Gang Hee. As it turned out, years ago, Yeon-soo's father had an affair with Gang Hee's mother, and the two had even run away together in the night. In Yeon-soo's mother's eyes, Gang Hee was just like her mother, a seductress, luring men. Gang Hee's father was furious, defending his daughter and arguing that the past had nothing to do with Gang Hee. He insisted that the parents needed to protect their children from malicious rumors. The one-day trip ended on a dark note due to Yeon-soo's mother's phone call. Gang Hee worried that Yeon-soo's mother would blame her, but Yeon-soo seriously promised to explain everything to his mother. As soon as they got out of the car, Yeon-soo's mother angrily lunged forward to protect Gang Hee. Yeon-soo tried to pull his mother back. Her best friend also asked Gang Hee if she was dating Yeon-soo. Gang Hee sadly stated that both her friend and Yeon-soo had slept over at her house before, and they were all just friends. A younger acquaintance learned that the flowers and theater tickets were sent by Yeon-soo's mother. Feeling disappointed that the acquaintance wanted to clarify his relationship with Yeon-soo, he begged him to wait until Gang Hee finished her job and left the village before explaining, to prevent the villagers from blaming Gang Hee for their breakup. Yeon-soo's mother feigned illness and was hospitalized to force her son to leave the house. Gang Hee reminded Yeon-soo to move quickly, saying that years ago, Yeon-soo's father had an accident because Gang Hee's mother seduced him. Despite his mother's words, Yeon-soo remained firmly on Gang Hee's side. Yeon-soo's mother wouldn't compromise, even forbidding them from being friends in order to get rid of Gang Hee. Yeon-soo's mother didn't hesitate to report the construction site that Gang Hee was in charge of, causing the project to be suspended. Besides Yeon-soo's mother and some of the villagers, there was also Hyun-yeol, a classmate who was always at odds with Gang Hee. This time, Gang Hee didn't plan to retaliate but instead planned to return to Seoul before the festival night. Before her return, Yeon-soo's mother sought out Gang Hee, wanting to have a serious conversation, but from the start, she said Gang Hee was just like her mother, a promiscuous woman. Gang Hee, furious, blurted out hurtful words. If her mother stole her husband, then she would steal her son. To prevent Gang Hee from getting hurt, Yeon-soo quickly took his mother away from the lodging. That night, Gang Hee sat sadly outside on a bench. Seok-jong came and gifted her a carefully selected necklace. Yeon-soo was also in a heavy mood, remembering his father's accident. But at that time, what he was worried about wasn't his father, but Gang Hee, who had fainted from witnessing the scene. The next day, Yeon-soo invited his mother to lunch. She was very happy, thinking that her son had listened to her. But unexpectedly, Yeon-soo revealed that he had known about his father's affair with Gang Hee's mother since he was young, but he wasn't sad at all. On the contrary, his father was only happy when he was with Gang Hee's mother. Therefore, in Yeon-soo's heart, he liked Gang Hee's mother more than his own. When he grew up, out of guilt towards his mother, he chose to stay in his hometown, missing out on Gang Hee. But now, realizing that he can't give up Gang Hee, Yeon-soo decided to go back to her, breaking the friend boundary between them. After clarifying things with his mother, Yeon-soo found Gang Hee, pulled her into an alley, and couldn't help but kiss her. He couldn't bear to just be friends with Gang Hee anymore. In the past, Yeon-soo always wanted everyone around him to be happy, but this time he would listen to his heart, give up his ambitions, and only focus on Gang Hee. Hearing these warm words, Gang Hee kissed him back, confirming their romantic relationship. However, upon returning to her boarding house, Gang Hee suddenly remembered the necklace Seok-jong had given her the previous night, hoping it would shield her from the villagers' judging eyes. Seok-jong hoped to become her official boyfriend before the construction project was completed. At the time, Gang Hee thought that simply pretending they were a couple would be enough to quell the gossip and allow the delayed project to resume operations quickly. Now, to deal with the situation with Seok-jong, Gang Hee met with Yeon-soo and told him the truth about Seok-jong giving her the necklace. Yeon-soo breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, in Gang Hee's eyes, Seok-jong was just a business relationship. Yeon-soo smiled softly, lovingly kissed Gang Hee, and was thrilled that today was officially their first date. The next morning, while Yeon-soo and his friends were having breakfast at the guest house, Gang Hee and Yeon-soo exchanged loving glances. But before long, Gang Hee received a call from Seok-jong. Intrigued, Gang Hee stepped outside the guest house. Immediately, a multitude of passers-by approached, each handing her a single rose. Following their instructions, Gang Hee walked to a bustling area covered in a red carpet. In front of her, Seok-jong was singing his heart out amidst the applause of the crowd. It turned out that Seok-jong was planning to propose to Gang Hee today. In Gang Hee's astonished gaze, Seok-jong got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. Seok-jong's elaborate proposal caused a stir throughout the village. Watching the pink proposal cars continuously driving through the streets, Yeon-soo was momentarily at a loss as to how he could earn enough money to bring that kind of happiness to Gang Hee. From that day on, Yeon-soo worked overtime every day without complaint. That evening, Yeon-soo met with Seok-jong. In front of Seok-jong, Yeon-soo didn't hide his feelings for Gang Hee. Hearing Yeon-soo's heartfelt words, Seok-jong finally promised to withdraw, but he demanded that Yeon-soo never hurt Gang Hee. If he did, he wouldn't let it go. Returning to the boarding house, Yeon-soo honestly told Gang Hee about his conversation with Seok-jong, and learned that Gang Hee had told her best friend about their relationship. Afterwards, Gang Hee and Yeon-soo embarked on a sweet romance, unaware that their intimate moments were being photographed and sent to Seok-jong. Looking at the pictures, Seok-jong looked troubled. His friend, Esther, tried to comfort him, saying that Seok Jong was handsome and successful, and that Gang Hee was the one missing out. Esther even confessed that she had initially wanted to marry Seok Jong as well, but Seok Jong hadn't expressed his feelings, so they remained just friends. Seok Jong adjusted his attitude, looking surprised. Esther changed her tone, saying it was just a joke to cheer him up. To help Seok Jong clear his head, Esther took him to the mall to buy baby clothes for her unborn child, as she was marrying another man. Esther was pregnant with his child. While they were choosing items, Seok Jong saw Esther's fiancé being affectionate with another woman. Without a word, Seok Jong lunged and punched him. Esther explained that the woman was just her fiancé's cousin. Esther's fiancé also warned Seok Jong not to get too close to his wife. Back in the village, Yeon-soo and Gang Hee's relationship continued, when an old woman in the village revealed to Yeon-soo that his mother, out of anger, had refused to eat for days. Yeon-soo tried to contact her, but his mother didn't answer. In fact, to pressure her son into compromising, Yeon-soo's mother had secluded herself in a temple for several days. But Yeon-soo didn't care and continued dating Gang Hee. That morning, Yeon-soo made a delicious yogurt breakfast for Gang Hee. He remembered his girlfriend's food preferences. During the meal, Yeon-soo suggested that they hold hands publicly in front of everyone. Gang Hee immediately agreed. That day, they went to the jewelry store to choose rings. Yeon-soo used all of his savings, wanting to buy an expensive ring for Gang Hee, but Gang Hee knew Yeon-soo wasn't wealthy. Her gaze landed on an inexpensive ring, but its design was intricate and beautiful. After buying this ring, Yeon-soo promised to give Gang Hee the very best in the future. Gang Hee said she didn't care about those things. Yeon-soo's feelings were everything to her. That evening, returning from their date, the two snuck into Gang Hee's room at Kang Guesthouse. He hastily turned off the lights, wanting to get intimate with Yeon-soo, but Yeon-soo was shy and worried about getting caught. Just then, her best friend knocked on the door. It turned out her friend's mother had been bullied by her husband that night. To protect her mother, her friend brought her to the guest house. After settling her mother in, everyone sat down and shared the hidden corners of their lives. Yeon-soo seized the opportunity to talk about his worries, as his mother had cut off all contact with him. Gang Hee shared an even sadder story about how her mother abandoned her to run off with another man, only to die in an accident on the road. Thanks to the comfort and companionship of their friend, everyone's spirits lifted somewhat. That night, Gang Hee called her father, but Director H-Wang answered the phone. Gang Hee assumed her father had gotten together with Director H-Wang, but the truth was her father was hospitalized. Director H-Wang was just visiting the patient in the next bed, having a cheerful video call with his daughter. Gang Hee's father tried to force a smile, not wanting his daughter to know he was ill. Yeon-soo's mother also brought home a distinguished-looking man. When Yeon-soo asked her about him, his mother became angry and pretended not to recognize her son because of work. Gang Hee had to temporarily return. After Yeon-soo and Gang Hee hugged, he didn't want to be apart from his girlfriend, even for a minute. After telling her boyfriend to keep his spirits up, Gang Hee went to the company to see Seok Jong, officially returning the necklace. Seok Jong, in turn, appeared sad and cold towards Gang Hee. Esther believed Seok Jong was acting that way because of Gang Hee. Clearly, he liked her a lot, but Seok Jong seemed depressed all the time. Gang Hee temporarily worked as a driver to take Esther home. Unexpectedly, in the parking lot, Esther's husband was being intimate with her cousin. Distraught, Esther, who was pregnant, experienced health problems. Gang Hee immediately drove her to the hospital. In the village, to protect Yeon-soo's mother, the villagers advised Gang Hee's father to teach his daughter a lesson, encouraging her to accept Seok Jong's proposal instead of loving Yeon-soo. Even Yeon-soo's mother sought out Gang Hee's father for help. This time, Gang Hee's father agreed. He didn't want his daughter to be gossiped about by the villagers and bullied by Yeon-soo's mother. That evening, Gang Hee's father bluntly asked his daughter if he broke up with Director H-Wang. Could Gang Hee break up with Yeon-soo? Gang Hee was surprised. It was the first time she had heard opposition from her father. At the same time, Gang Hee's father also advised Yeon-soo to reconsider. Her father knew Yeon-soo loved this village, while Gang Hee hated her hometown. Despite her father's opposition, Yeon-soo decided to ignore it, resolutely following Gang Hee's plan to go to Seoul. Before leaving, Gang Hee met Yeon-soo's mother. She said cruel words, saying that Gang Hee would end up like her own mother. Because of these words, on the way back to Seoul, Gang Hee's mood was chaotic, and she even imagined an accident ahead and urged Yeon-soo to stop the car. Yeon-soo didn't have time to react and unfortunately crashed into the curb. Tragedy struck. Upon receiving the news, Yeon-soo's mother and Gang Hee's father rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, neither Yeon-soo nor Gang Hee suffered serious injuries. After regaining consciousness, Gang Hee was taken back to the guest house by her father, who stayed by her bedside all night. Gang Hee asked about her mother's accident in the past and wanted to know why her father wasn't with her mother that day. Gang Hee's father felt remorse, as that day was the most regretful day of his life. At that time, Gang Hee's mother and father had planned to leave Korea together and go to her hometown in California, USA. But on the night they were supposed to depart, her husband never showed up. Disappointed, she left with her lover, Yeon-soo's father, and the accident happened during their escape that night. That night, Gang Hee and Yeon-soo hid in her father's car and witnessed the scene of the accident, seeing their parents lying in pools of blood. However, Gang Hee didn't know that the reason her father couldn't keep his promise was because he had gone to collect a debt money he intended to use to help his wife fulfill her dream. During the altercation, Gang Hee's father was arrested and put in jail, missing his appointment with his wife. Now, reminiscing about the past, Gang Hee left the guest house and ran to the place where her mother had the accident years ago, as if trying to find her memories. In her mind, the tragic images she had deliberately suppressed kept flashing back. Those memories gradually returned. The next morning, hearing that Gang Hee had left, Yeon-soo hurriedly went to look for her. When he found Gang Hee, he worriedly embraced the person he loved, fearing that he would lose her one day. Gang Hee's friend, Seung-eon, also feared losing a relationship. Seung-eon secretly loved Gang Hee's best friend, but her best friend had recently been on a blind date with another man. One day, when the date didn't have time to meet, he unilaterally went to her workplace to invite her out for a meal. She refused, but he wouldn't let go of her hand. At that critical moment, Seung-eon appeared and took her away. She confided in Gang Hee that she had no feelings for the other man, but her father insisted on forcing her to marry someone she didn't love. Gang Hee advised her to try to resist, just like she and Yeon-soo had overcome all obstacles to be together. Encouraged by Gang Hee, she decided to bring Seung-eon to meet her mother. Unexpectedly, her mother slapped her across the face. In her mother's eyes, Seung-eon was just an orphan with no education, doing manual labor, and completely unworthy of her daughter. Faced with the criticism and contempt, Seung-eon didn't argue. He only apologized and sadly left. That night, Gang Hee sought out Seung-eon and gave him a comforting hug. To Gang Hee, Seung-eon was like a blood brother. Many years ago, Seung-eon was abandoned by his parents at Gang Hee's family's guest house. They left a letter saying they would come back for him, so Gang Hee's father decided to let him stay temporarily at the guest house until his parents returned. Since then, Gang Hee has treated Seung-eon like a younger brother. Currently, Gang Hee wants her brother to go to Seoul with her, but Seung-eon shook his head, saying that he still had to stay at the guest house to wait for his parents, even though he knew that the wait was far-fetched. Seung-eon took out a precious photo, which was a picture of him and Gang Hee's mother when he was little. Gang Hee's mother used to tell Seung-eon to call her Mom. Looking at the image of her mother in the photo, Gang Hee's eyes turned red. She regretted never having taken a picture with her mother. Fortunately, Yeon-soo has replaced her mother and filled the void in Gang Hee's life. The next morning, the two were sweetly entangled with each other once again. Gang Hee mentioned how, thanks to him taking care of everything, she had so much time to relax. Yeon-soo, hearing this, felt a pang of jealousy, wanting to know if she'd had any hesitation when Seok-jong proposed to Gang Hee. When Gang Hee jokingly said she had been tempted, Yeon-soo grew even more envious. He playfully threatened that if Gang Hee didn't quickly return to his side, he would orchestrate an even more dramatically romantic proposal. Back in Seoul, Gang Hee continuously criticized Seok-jong for the recent errors in the work he was overseeing. Gang Hee realized that Seok-jong's absent-mindedness wasn't due to his failed proposal, but because of Esther. Seok Jong had investigated Esther's husband and discovered that the supposed cousin was actually the woman living with Esther's husband. Seok Jong was worried that Esther wouldn't be able to handle the truth of her fiancé's infidelity. After learning from Gang Hee that Esther already knew the truth, Seok Jong grew even more uneasy. Returning home, Gang Hee began cleaning the apartment and discovered a teddy bear that had fallen under the sofa. As Gang Hee reached for it, the sight unexpectedly triggered a memory that had been sealed away. Gang Hee seemed to see her childhood self, the young Gang Hee saying that she had lost this teddy bear on the day her mother died. In that moment, all the painful memories flooded back. That night, when her husband didn't arrive, Gang Hee's mother took her to a motel to sleep, worried that she would leave on her own. In the middle of the night, young Gang Hee tied one end of a woolen thread to her mother's foot, and the other end to her own. But unfortunately, the thread came loose the next morning. Later, after witnessing her mother and Yeon-su's father having an affair, and fearing her mother would abandon her, Gang Hee stuffed the teddy bear into the exhaust pipe of Yeon-su's father's car, leading to the car accident. The night of the accident, unable to bear it, Gang Hee ran away and was eventually found by Yeon-su. The immense shock caused her to lose her memory, forgetting her own terrible action. Now, she realized that she had inadvertently caused the deaths of her mother and Yeon-su's father. Gang Hee went home and stood before her mother's portrait, crying uncontrollably. She couldn't forgive her own childishness from back then. At the California motel, Gang Hee's father spoke with Yeon-su, still hoping the two would break up so they could each live their own lives. But Yeon-su only smiled gently, saying that he was happy as long as he had Gang Hee by his side. Gang Hee was his whole life. Hearing Yeon-su's sincere words, Gang Hee's father finally changed his attitude, agreeing to let them be together and hoping that Yeon-su would keep his promise to make Gang Hee happy. The next morning, Yeon-su went to Seoul to find Gang Hee, but he couldn't reach her. He waited all day outside her apartment, and finally Gang Hee returned. Yeon-su wanted to stay overnight at Gang Hee's place before heading back, but unexpectedly, Gang Hee said she wanted to break up. Realizing that Gang Hee was troubled, Yeon-su didn't ask for the reason and promised to wait for her. Gang Hee told herself she would return to her hometown after calming down. When she arrived at the motel, Gang Hee saw her father playing the guitar with a slightly melancholic melody. Noticing that his daughter was carrying a burden, her father approached her and sincerely spoke about the mistakes of his past. However, Gang Hee's heart became even more troubled, not knowing whether to forgive her father or to forgive herself for her mother's accident. Before returning to Seoul, Gang Hee met Yeon-su's mother. Because of Gang Hee's accident in the past, Yeon-su's mother blamed herself, thinking that her curses had led to the accident. Meeting Gang Hee, she intended to apologize, but unexpectedly, Gang Hee bowed and apologized first for causing her worry all this time. Yeon-su's mother thought Gang Hee was up to something again, but this time her attitude was sincere, no longer as stubborn as before. Before leaving her hometown, the last person Gang Hee met was Yeon-su. Yeon-su proactively expressed his feelings, saying that Gang Hee was not only his first love, but also the beginning and the end of every story in his life. Before he could finish speaking, Yeon-su saw Gang Hee crying uncontrollably. Gang Hee revealed the truth about how she had stuffed a teddy bear into the car's exhaust pipe, unintentionally causing the deaths of Yeon-su's mother and father, bearing this immense regret on her shoulders. Gang Hee couldn't face her lover on this cold night. She said to Yeon-su, "I love you," finally like a farewell. Gang Hee shed tears and turned to walk away. Yeon-su disregarded everything and chased after her. Many years ago, Gang Hee herself had told him that love is warmth, is companionship. Now, Yeon-su didn't intend to let go of Gang Hee because of the past. No matter what Gang Hee chose, his feelings for her would not change. He would forever wait for her to return. Back in Seoul, Seok Jung noticed Gang Hee's strange behavior and followed her to the church. Gang Hee confessed that she had killed her mother and Yeon-su's parents in extreme remorse. Gang Hee decided to turn herself in, but Seok Jung vehemently tried to stop her. When the accident happened, Gang Hee was not even 10 years old. Seok Jung hoped Gang Hee could talk honestly with Yeon-su. Whether it be punishment or forgiveness, Gang Hee should not avoid Yeon-su. But lately, Gang Hee was completely unable to contact Yeon-su. She had absolutely no idea that her own father was suffering from cancer. Over the past few days, Yeon-soo had been constantly taking Gang Hee's father to the hospital. The doctor announced that besides chemotherapy, there were no better treatment options available. After helping Mr. Chun-pai with the hospital admission procedures, she coincidentally ran into Director H. Wang. Director H. Wang was the first person to learn about Mr. Chun-pai's condition, because she herself had been a cancer patient at the hospital 3 years prior. Gang Hee's father and Director H. Wang had known each other since then. Mr. Chun-pai had been diagnosed with cancer but had hidden it from everyone, secretly undergoing several rounds of chemotherapy. Because they were both friends in a film lovers group and shared the same fate, they promised to be patient buddies supporting each other at the hospital. But recently, Mr. Chun-pai revealed that he didn't plan on continuing chemotherapy. Director H. Wang couldn't convince him otherwise, so she asked Yeon-soo for help. However, Mr. Chun-pai remained adamant. He wanted to spend his remaining days traveling freely and passing away peacefully. The only thing weighing on his mind was his daughter. With tears in his eyes, he implored Yeon-soo to absolutely not let Gang Hee know about his illness. He blamed himself for never having been a responsible father, and, as his life was coming to an end, he didn't want his daughter to worry about him, no matter what. Yeon-soo couldn't sway Mr. Chun-pai's stubbornness. In the days that followed, he secretly took him to the hospital without Gang Hee finding out. Meanwhile, Gang Hee went everywhere looking for Yeon-soo, even going to his veterinary clinic to ask about him. But Yeon-soo's junior colleagues knew nothing about his whereabouts. She only heard that Yeon-soo had been preparing for an interview recently, and seemed to want to go there to work as a veterinary researcher. Unable to find Yeon-soo, Gang Hee sent him a message hoping to meet and talk. However, Yeon-soo didn't reply. Unable to see Yeon-soo, Gang Hee had been working at the construction site lately without any spirit, lacking any motivation. Finally, a worker informed her that Yeon-soo had returned. Gang Hee immediately rushed to Yeon-soo's house to talk, afraid that she might accidentally reveal Mr. Chun-pai's illness. Yeon-soo avoided her. Gang Hee was heartbroken, thinking that Yeon-soo was still angry about the harsh breakup words she had spoken. To help Gang Hee, Seok-jong secretly met with Yeon-soo and fabricated a story that Gang Hee was about to study abroad in the United States. Upon hearing this, Yeon-soo immediately jumped up, determined to stop Gang Hee from running away. He couldn't let her live with guilt and remorse for the rest of her life. That evening, as Gang Hee was getting ready to go out, Yeon-soo suddenly walked in, bluntly demanding that she not even dream of leaving. Afterward, he pulled Gang Hee to the police station, demanding a reinvestigation into the traffic accident report from years ago concerning his father and Gang Hee's mother. Yeon-soo did this so that Gang Hee could bravely confront the truth. If Yeon-soo's father truly had the accident because of Gang Hee, then she shouldn't run away, but instead live for both their sakes, taking care of him and being there for him. With that, Yeon-soo took Gang Hee's hand firmly. She shed tears, but then offered a relieved smile. Yeon-soo's words made her feel at peace. In the cold night air, Yeon-soo put his coat around Gang Hee. When Gang Hee put her hand into the coat pocket, she discovered a doctor's appointment slip and immediately asked Yeon-soo, "What happened?" Yeon-soo chose to lie, saying it belonged to a friend who was injured. Gang Hee, reassured, told him to never hide anything from her in the future, and not to push each other away because of any difficulties. In the countryside, the police gave Gang Hee the investigation report from the accident years ago. After reading it, Gang Hee discovered the cause was multiple vehicles skidding and colliding on the ice, and had absolutely nothing to do with her stuffing a teddy bear into the exhaust pipe. Knowing the truth, Gang Hee finally released the burden in her heart. Yeon-soo silently hugged Gang Hee, offering her comfort in silence. After the hug, Yeon-soo took Gang Hee's hand and went to meet his mother, formally introducing her as his girlfriend. But Yeon-soo's mother couldn't let go of the past, and especially couldn't accept Gang Hee. Aside from the fact that Gang Hee's mother had an affair with her husband, what she couldn't forgive was the teddy bear from that year. It turned out that years ago, the car that had the teddy bear stuffed in its exhaust pipe was Yeon-soo's mother's car. She believed that Gang Hee did it to get revenge on her for speaking ill of her mother. Hearing this, Gang Hee knelt down, repeatedly apologizing and begging for forgiveness. But despite his mother's objections, Yeon-soo resolutely helped Gang Hee up. Whether it was the past or the present, Gang Hee has always been the most important person in his life. Thanks to Yeon-soo's unconditional support, Gang Hee's mood gradually stabilized. In the snowy weather, Gang Hee seemed to embrace the child she once was, telling herself that it was okay. All the bad things were over. That evening, back at the inn, Gang Hee went into her father's room and asked him to adopt Seung-eon to give him a home. Mr. Chun-pai agreed, still pretending that nothing was wrong in front of his daughter. But Gang Hee noticed that Mr. Chun-pai brought back a lot of medicine from the hospital. When she pressed him, he gave a vague answer. Gang Hee then asked Yeon-soo, but he also lied to put her mind at ease. However, Gang Hee felt uneasy. Searching for information, she discovered that all of the medicine was cancer medication. Suspicious, Gang Hee followed Yeon-soo and Mr. Chun-pai the next day. She discovered that they went to a nursing home. Seeing her father filling out an application to live there, Gang Hee confronted him directly. Forced to by the circumstances, Mr. Chun-pai had no choice but to tell the truth. Gang Hee sadly blamed Yeon-soo for hiding it from her. Yeon-soo didn't explain but immediately got into the car. At this moment, Gang Hee needed to be by his side even more. Learning that her father had cancer, Gang Hee returned to Seoul with Yeon-soo. Even though she appeared strong, still eating normally, she couldn't hold back her tears. All the food in front of her was sent by Mr. Chun-pai. Yeon-soo left Gang Hee to cry, waiting for her. Exhausted from crying, she finally sat down beside Gang Hee, in Gang Hee's arms. Chun-pai had always been a boastful, annoying, and sometimes foolish man, but when he fell ill, she realized that the person she considered an idiot was actually the most precious person in her life. Yeon-soo comforted Gang Hee, but he couldn't hold back his own tears, promising to always be there for her. In the middle of the night, Gang Hee woke up and gently embraced Yeon-soo from behind, talking about her father. She now regretted hating him in the past and regretted not spending more time with him. Yeon-soo advised her that dwelling on things too much would only make her miss out on more. He told her if she wanted to avoid regrets, she needed to go see the people she wanted to see. Because of Yeon-soo's words, Gang Hee went back to the California Inn. Today, Gang Hee's father fulfilled his promise, officially adopting Seung-eon, giving him a home. Standing in front of the room, Chun-pai forced a smile. He saw through his daughter's concern, and, still like a child, made a few playful jokes. Gang Hee was outwardly tough, but her eyes gradually turned red. She accepted the relationship between her father and Director H. Wang, because now, all that mattered was her father's happiness. Director H. Wang met with Gang Hee, encouraging her and expressing his belief that Chun-pai would overcome his illness. Gang Hee smiled and agreed to Director H. Wang becoming her father's life partner. In the hospital, thanks to Yeon-soo being by her side, her father's encouragement, and her friends, Gang Hee's mood gradually improved. That evening, Gang Hee dried Yeon-soo's hair. Yeon-soo's eyes were full of tenderness, hoping every day could be like this. Gang Hee talked about her father, saying she didn't want to put him in a nursing home. Without him, the California Inn would feel too empty. The two of them planned how to convince Chun-pai to stay there during this time. Gang Hee discovered that her best friend and Seung-eon had fallen in love, and another friend had also confirmed her feelings for Yeon-soo's junior colleague. The air at the California Inn was filled with love. Yeon-soo and Gang Hee even wore matching scarves, sweetly exchanging affectionate words. But that night, Gang Hee received news that her father was planning to sell the inn. The next day, a real estate agent came to look at the property, announcing plans to completely renovate the inn. Gang Hee was furious and immediately kicked the agent out. Afterward, she went to the hospital to visit her father. Seeing him lying in the hospital bed, Gang Hee felt a pang of grief. This was the first time she had ever seen her father so frail. With Yeon-soo by her side, Gang Hee fought back her sorrow, forcing a smile as she entered the hospital room. When asked why he wanted to sell the guest house, Mr. Chun-pai explained that he was afraid. He feared that after he passed away, the place that held so many memories would become a burden for his daughter, preventing her from moving forward. She had to let go of the attachments in her heart. Gang Hee disagreed. She proposed that she take over the guest house and renovate it into a nursing home for her father. For his daughter's sake, Mr. Chun-pai agreed. From then on, Gang Hee threw herself into designing the nursing home. Whenever she stayed up late or dozed off, Yeon-soo was always quietly by her side. During the time of preparing the nursing home, the rural guest house project that Gang Hee was in charge of was nearing completion, which was also the day she ended her fake relationship with Seok-jong. Gang Hee had realized early on that in Seok-jong's heart, from beginning to end, there was only Esther. A few days before in Seoul, Seok-jong had been constantly helping Esther find a partner, hoping to find a man who would agree to raise her child with her. But after many meetings, no one was suitable. Seok-jong intended to continue searching, but Esther decided to give up. Thanks to Seok-jong's encouragement, she was filled with energy, believing that she could raise her child on her own. Seok-jong promised to always help her. Even if they couldn't be lovers, they could still be friends. Seok-jong also kept his word, helping Gang Hee organize the grand opening of the guest house. In the evening, Gang Hee led Yeon-soo to see her accomplishment. This was a project she had poured her heart and soul into, and she wanted him to be the first to see it. Yeon-soo praised Gang Hee's talent. The next day, Seok-jong presided over the ribbon-cutting ceremony. After this event, the villagers began to change their perception of Gang Hee. Old classmates who used to dislike her apologized one by one. Gang Hee was moved, feeling like her life had turned over a new leaf. That evening, Gang Hee and her friends organized a birthday party for her father. In the lively celebration, she threw herself into his arms, hoping that in the days to come, he could always be as happy as he was today. Outside, snow was falling. Gang Hee imitated Yeon-soo, tilting her head back to catch the snowflakes in her mouth. It's said that if you catch 10 snowflakes, you can be together forever with your first love. Under the snow-covered sky, the two held hands and made a promise. They promised to always be together, turning the place that was once just a temporary stop into their permanent home.